were teaching in person or if you were taking the class in person, I do recommend you read over the syllabus on your own. I put a bunch of detail, especially in the beginning, just some basic concepts justifying why you're taking the course, thinking about what we're trying to accomplish. I talk a bit about the different approaches to studying this stuff. But what I want to focus on here is making sure you understand the layout of the course, the assignments you have to complete, what you're actually graded on, and then I'll talk a little bit about the photos of the syllabus because you have an assignment related to that. So first of all, what do you actually do in this course? Actually, I lied. Before I get to that, just a reminder, my office is located in 206 Hartwell Hall. You can obviously always email me if you have questions. The other thing is stopping by office hours, great. Chance to talk to me, chance where I actually get to meet you since that's not possible in an asynchronous virtual course. We could talk about content. I'm happy to look at the stuff that you're doing or give feedback. And if these times don't work for you, the Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I have a relatively flexible schedule on Tuesday, Thursday where I'm not on campus, but I would be available through either Microsoft Teams or Zoom or even FaceTime if neither of the other two options work. So feel free to stop by office hours. All right, other things I need to point out. No required text. Everything is online. Everything's on the website, whether that is a link to a podcast, a link to a documentary, or a link to the readings. So everything's going to be posted through Brightspace. I know a few times in the syllabus and also in the welcome video, I'm still stuck saying Blackboard just because I was used to that for so many years. But again, Brightspace, Blackboard no longer exists at Brockport. So what do you actually have to do for the course? I dropped the requirement a pretty considerable amount since last time I taught this course online. So I'm trying to make this extremely manageable and also give you a lot of flexibility. So here's the things you have to do. First, you are going to complete all the readings, listen to the podcast, and watch the videos for the intro. Once you finish that intro module, and the next video I share in Brightspace is going to be going over how Brightspace is laid out, but I'm hoping it's pretty understandable and intuitive and makes sense. But here's what you have to do. So first, watch everything in that intro module, in that folder. Watch everything, read everything, complete all the material. When you are done with the material, what you are going to do is complete a write-up based on that material. The goal of the intro is to introduce all the different themes that are contained in other modules of the course. So you really need to start here. And then you're going to go through and you're going to do a short write-up for each of the things that you read or listened to or watched. And you're going to say, here's what these things were about. It's not simply a summary. A summary is just repeating what you saw. Instead, you're telling me what you found interesting or what you thought that you learned from that reading or what you thought was the key takeaway. I try to have interesting readings. Some of the readings, because they come from popular writing, don't always start with a thesis statement and say, hey, this is the thing that you're supposed to take away. So I want you to tell me what you found interesting. Then, after you go through and do that for each of the items, you're going to tell me what themes related to the sociology of the body you think were introduced. Maybe there were a bunch of themes about the beauty industry. Maybe there were themes about the challenges we have relating to our own bodies. Maybe there were themes about how a body is increasingly tied to identity. Maybe it's something about the medical industry and how patients are treated. You tell me what themes you think emerge. And then finally, what you're going to do is you're going to look at the art that I've included on the syllabus. I've included 1, 2, 3, 4 photos here. And down below, you're going to see 1, 2, 3 photos. So you're going to look at one of these photos and say, how does this relate to something? What is going on in these photos? What do I find interesting about them? How do they somehow relate to themes related to the body? So we could do this with any of them. I'm just going to choose one to do as an example. Maybe I would choose this one and say, well, it's clearly about our relationship to the scale. It's the type of feeling we have when we see this object, if I'm taking a more embodied approach, the anxiety we might face, the way we feel compelled to check our weight, even if we know we're not going to like what we see, or we become obsessed with getting a specific number and then we work towards it. Or maybe you're part of a certain subculture. Maybe you're a wrestler or a boxer where you have to weigh yourself constantly for competition. You have a different relationship to it. Or maybe it brings up themes of the power of the medical industry to determine what counts as overweight or what counts as a proper weight. Or maybe it's about media and what's deemed the proper weight for someone to have, which could be based on their gender identity, right? So all I would do is say, here's this art. and here's what I find interesting about it, and here's the themes I think I merge. Maybe you want to point out that the scale is kind of dirty, which shows that it's been well used, right? It's not new. So that's what you have to do. So for the intro write-up, it's about saying, here's the things I read, here's what I found interesting about each one, here's the themes that they bring up together, and then choose 3 of the photos and just do some really basic descriptive analysis. What's going on in the video. So that's the intro assignment. That counts as 25% of your grade. I actually don't know why I put that separate from the other module write-ups, other than to make it clear you have to do the intro 1 and then 3 module write-ups. They all count the exact same amount. Over the course of this 8-week course, over the 8 weeks, you are going to do 4 write-ups. I used to have people do 6 write-ups, which I think was just a little bit too much. So basically what I'm saying is you want to do at least 1 every 2 weeks. What I would try to do is get the intro done in the first week. Then I would try to take 2 weeks for each of them so you get done a week early. And I laid that out here. Or what you might want to do, because we know the end of the semester gets busy, you could say, I'm going to get these done right away. I'm not going to wait around. I know I only have to complete the intro and 3 modules, so I'm going to get them done as fast as possible. Okay, so that brings me to the next thing. So first you have to do the intro assignment. Next thing you have to do is on Brightspace. Sorry for scrolling around so much. On Brightspace, I am providing you with 7 modules, 7 different themes. I want you to choose the 3 that are most interesting to you. Each module folder is made up of a combination of videos, readings, lectures, documentaries, and movies. Not all of them have all of these. Sometimes there's a documentary, sometimes there isn't. Sometimes there's a movie, sometimes there isn't. Sometimes I have a lecture. Usually I don't. Usually I just try to include interesting videos, podcasts, and readings. So you choose the 3 that are most interesting to you, right? So the themes we have, focusing on the senses and how the senses are this culturally defined experience. So how we learn about the world through our senses, but how also that is conditioned by the place that we come from. I like this module a lot. I mean, I like all of them a lot, but I do really like this one. Module 2, the body and capital. Thinking about how we work to transform our body into something that can be used for labor and sold. So that's the focus of this module. Third module, physical culture and community. How people build communities around physical activity. So here you're reading about things like martial arts or roller derby or S&M subcultures, or watching an interview with Celia Carey, who owns Rock Pole Fitness, which is a business in Rochester, where she teaches people to pole dance. So that's the focus of this one, people building community around physical activities. Fourth module, thinking about how the body itself becomes coded by culture and the politics of that. So here we're going to talk about things like men and body hair, about women and specifically black women and hair and how that becomes culturally significant. Thinking about social media and how there's certain faces that are considered desirable. Or the history of our cultural obsession with the butt, which is this really good book, and I'm going to take 2 chapters from it. I still have to choose which 2 chapters. So this one's mostly reading based. Again, I like all these modules a lot, so choose the one which has the themes that most interest you. If you're really interested in how the body codes, or how society and culture code certain parts of the body and define what we think is appropriate or not, also how that ties into a history of race and gender, well, this would be a good module. Module 5 is about health and wellness. So there's readings about people's experience in the medical, going to the hospital. There's reading about cultural constructions of what's considered healthy, and there's a little lecture on that. There's a podcast about larger society challenges with healthcare, and then there's a bunch of readings around weight and body size. And then Bound by the Binary is mostly readings from 2 excellent books, one on trans kids and one on intersex individuals. Both these books are really good. And then there's some videos and a podcast thinking about sex testing in the space of sport. And then the final module, module 7, which is the most experimental or exploratory, is thinking about digital futures, about AI, and really about robots and our relationship with robots. And for this one, you get to watch a lot of sci-fi movies. So you actually watch 3 sci-fi movies, which seems like a lot, but there's no readings in this section. You're watching 3 sci-fi movies, you're watching 2 short lectures, you're looking at this artist's work. So it's by far the most experimental. If you do this one, have this be your 3rd module. Don't do this as 1 and 2. It's a really good way to end the course. So again, you choose the 3 modules. Don't wait to the last minute. You need to have the intro done within the first 2 weeks. Hopefully the first week. That's the goal. You need to have the first module completed by the 3rd week. You need to have the 2nd module completed by the 5th week, and then the 3rd module completed by the 7th week. You have 7 weeks. You have 3 modules in introduction. You potentially could sit down and really focus on this and get this all done in 2 weeks. Maybe even 1 week if you have a lot of time. Maybe over spring break you really want to start working on this. So hopefully this makes sense. You'll notice in the syllabus I give an explanation of what you have to do with the module write-up. So make sure to read this over. If you have questions, email me, and I'll probably record a short video giving some more feedback and explaining this. Again, that's usually what I'll do. If you have a question and I only think that it's more specific to you, I'll respond via email, or I'll email the whole class. If it needs a longer answer, I'll just record a video like this explaining it. The other thing you'll notice is there's no quizzes, there's no tests. It's 4 write-ups. They're not extremely long, but when I'm grading, what I'm looking for is you coming up with your own argument or finding your own voice in relationship to these topics. Now, this brings up something I should mention because more and more I see this. You can use AI to generate ideas or to help you if you're not confident in your writing skills. That is not a problem. However, the goal, as I write here, is for you to figure out your views on these issues and to find your voice in expressing them. Make sure what ends up in the paper is your writing. First of all, Brightspace tells me if it's an AI paper, and then you're going to fail. Because I want you, not because I think AI is the worst thing ever, although I do have some very strong critiques, especially because the amount of energy usage that these giant servers are using to power AI and the amount of water that's being pumped out of the ground that goes to AI rather than producing food. So that's a problem. But the problem in terms of academic stuff is by using AI, it's not you finding your opinion. All it is combining all the different stuff that's out there and finding the exact middle. That's not interesting. That's boring. I want to see what you think about this stuff. I'm assigning readings that are interesting. These are topics that are important for our experiences in the world. Tell me what you think. Don't tell me what the computer thinks. All right, hopefully that makes sense. Email me if you have any questions at all.